Three. There we go. Super off.
All right. Well, we'll move ours together. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, there you go. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you feeling?
Doing good, doing good. We're just a little bit off the recording here, but yeah. Tell us again where you're hailing from right now.
I'm hailing from Beacon, New York, right now, about an hour and a half north of New York City. It's a beautiful day. Everything's well.
Got your kitties back there.
Oh yeah. The kitty's taking a little nap.
I didn't know you're a cat guy. Yeah. Like, have you been a cat guy
Surprises
your whole
people.
life? Or?
No, not at all. But my girlfriend's a huge cat person, and kind of grown into it over. We've been in a relationship now for 8 years, so over time you
Congrats.
slowly soften and
Mm-hmm.
become a cat person. And her mom's always gotten me cat T-shirts for like Christmas and stuff, like really crazy ones, really
Really
out there ones.
forcing it on you.
Yeah. No, so they were determined to make me a cat person.
There you go.
I also got attacked by a dog when I was a kid, so it was an easy thing for me.
You got all your fingers, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I'm lucky I still do. No, I got right in the side,
Ooh.
just like a nice chunk.
Ooh, really? It took out a chunk.
Yeah, it got me pretty good for a second.
Wow.
But we're just like a quick visit, and we figured it out. But definitely had its impact on making me afraid of dogs. And
No
I don't
way.
know. Now cats are just a thing in my life, for better or worse. They're just around, and yeah, we had a cat that was Emily's family cat that came here, during the pandemic, and unfortunately passed away because it was like 15-year-old cat, which was like pretty emotional, whole thing. And then this new kitty that came into our lives, like a barn cat from a farm upstate, has been just like such a blessing and such a rejuvenation of life and spirit. And
Very dope.
it's nice to have an animal around. I'm working from home most days, so it's nice to have a little companion and icebreaker for people that don't really know me at all. Um, when they come in the studio, it's a little thing that it's like a baby. You can all kind of just take our eyes on that, and then everything kind of eases into its own
Yep.
flow after that often. So
So you're Beacon, New York. You said it's an hour. We're just laughing because that was a place that my wife and I are currently looking at. So that was a funny little serendipitous thing.
insane.
You're pretty removed from the city, so a lot. I mean, not that far, but you said an hour and a half
Yeah.
train ride. But
Yeah.
so do you have a lot of folks coming up to you? Is that
Yeah.
how it's been working lately?
Yeah. I would say I try to do a couple days a week where people come up here, and where mostly things that are like for a project, something that's a little more long term. I'm definitely moving towards more long term thinking and less, trying to do stuff for a name drop person because that's going to help me, blah, 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 you know. And I've always been a very community oriented person. So a lot of the projects I'm working on aren't particularly somebody famous or anything like that, but people I've known for 5 years, and we love each other, and it's a great thing. So yeah, the project I just released with my friend Yo, the rapper, somebody I've been friends with for a long time, and we've kind of dipped our toes into collaboration. Just re-listened to the first thing we did in like 2017 the other day, and I was like, wow, it's interesting that we've come this far, because that was like me wanting to do a project, and we did a song, and over the pandemic was the first time that he was consistently coming up here, and we probably did like 20-25 jams, whittled it down, and just like, yeah, it feels very wholesome, very like we had a story to tell because it was natural, we were hanging a lot, and yeah, that's like the direction of production I'm trying to do and enjoy doing, stuff that's
Yeah.
like feels a little more seamless, and with people that I'm a fan of, whether regardless of whether like they're already put on, quote unquote, or not. Yeah, just trying to do more stuff that's in that feeling, and I think
Yeah,
that
nice.
feeling translates to people whether they know it or not. You know.
Totally. Not forcing the funk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very, very natural feel. And yeah, you're right. You do hear that in the sound. It sounds comfortable. It doesn't sound, especially with that project. Congrats, by the way, because that was,
Thank you,
you put
man.
me on to Yo.
Hmm.
And you said he was coming up there, so he must be from New York. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. He's like born and raised in Brooklyn. Um, Definitely. We went to the same college, SUNY Purchase.
Nice.
Awesome art school in Westchester. Um, and he was like kind of generation below me, but a lot of my friends that were like, freshmen when I was a senior,
Mm.
when they were like seniors and started to like be
Hmm.
killing it and, do stuff in New York, I started to see that they had started working with a couple rappers and started a band called Poetic Thrust. Shout out. Um, and, I'd always go to their shows and stuff. And I thought, Mark, also known as Yo, and Charles, the other MC, were so dope, ridiculous. So I've been just following as a fan for a while, even though I'm a little bit like the older brother of that crew, I guess, more or less. Like, they're family and people that I'm just like a fan of and trying to do stuff with. So a couple of the other guys from that band are even on the Yo Cartoons thing. Jaden, who plays saxophone, is on a couple songs. Stu, the guitar player, is on a couple songs. Zach, the drummer, is even on a moment. So um, yeah, it's all kind of an in-house thing.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean that's just like a little bit. That's just one little chunk of my worlds that I kind of like to connect with whatever I'm doing in music, and what I do with Yo is definitely like the more dreamy, avant-garde, jazzy shit that I don't get to do with everybody. And to be honest, like some of that wasn't even for everybody, and I don't view it that way. It's certainly like a weirder, more left field project, but I like that we got to do that. Just gotta go for that, and nobody can tell us we can't. You know what I mean?
Totally, totally. And I really, really respect the approach that you have with it because kind of working with artists that don't have a platform and kind of being open to working with everything and kind of dipping your toes into a variety of genres.
Right.
I was really impressed. Like when I first came across your music was through Lyndon,
Mm.
and it was that remix. He
Sure,
was like, hey,
sure.
um, uh, cartoons will be a great fit for like the base of this, and then blah blah blah. And that's how I kind of got familiar with you, and then it's been really amazing to watch you grow.
Mm.
Like I not from like a because you've always been nasty from what it sounds like and from what I've seen, but like just the appreciation of your music has like grown so much. I feel like,
Yeah.
and maybe that's just like a slice of the social media because you went from you blew up. I think there's like a
Yeah.
that one viral video you
Yeah.
posted, and now I see it all the time. Like I'm seeing that on the explore page all
Yeah.
the time.
It's wild. Yeah. How social
How's
media
that
works.
been? How's that type of
It
growth been for
well,
you?
it's been a blessing for getting out such an indie project like I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's certainly one we don't really have any real marketing plan for or anything like that. There's no, it's just two guys putting out music. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that a lot of people were looking for this song that still doesn't exist on streaming was kind of a helpful nudge in like getting people to listen to something maybe they wouldn't have listened to. Um, so that was kind of just like a blessing and an accident. That was just the right place at the right time that I happened to have one, locked and loaded. And, fortunately, I have a few other ones too. Because last year was more of kind of like a building period. I actually didn't release any albums. I just featured on like a million things. But I didn't release any cartoon stuff. So it's all been kind of like launching towards this year. And for that viral video to happen at that moment, which for anybody listening is, a little track I did called On My Way with The Count. That will be out February 11th. So I can say that
I
here.
can't wait. I can't
Yeah.
wait, man.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's gonna sound like it does on Instagram,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be longer. And it's kind of people. We a lot of things that's like for later for me in my mind, but the people demand that we put that one out now, which is cool. I'll accept that.
Did you have a moment like say like when it was kind of picking up steam and getting shared and played a lot? Did you guys like want to hey, let's go back to this and maybe add some stuff or like prep it in a different way or are
Yeah,
you keeping it
you
raw?
know, we did, and that kind of, that kind of was the plan until we both listened to it again, and then I had kind of also sliced my finger and kind of fell in the
Mm,
snow, so it was just like, let's just put out this version of it. It's clearly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we made a 3-minute version of it originally. We kind of just did a short edit of it for Instagram. Um, that just was one of those serendipitous moments.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I had it's like funny. Uh, we were just talking on FaceTime one day, and he's like, Toronto's only like an hour and a half flight, and I was like, no way. And I literally booked the flight like that day. Um, you
I was
know,
gonna say you guys are technically neighbors. Yeah, I
yeah,
wasn't-
So and I had never been up there as an adult. I'd only been on a road trip with my pops. But hardly remember that. And me and kind of been building a relationship, and it's awesome to work with drummers for me, especially drummers that are producers, because I feel like I can fill in a lot of the gaps in the other places, blah blah blah. And especially if we have somebody doing a top line or whatever, then we're fully cooking. Um, but we had already started sending stuff back and forth. We already had like 10 jams when I went up there. Um, and the goal was just to make a couple things, keep sending some stuff out. And that track actually did, in the first day before any viral stuff, definitely had somebody who top lined it and really finished the track pretty early. Who knows what will happen with that and all that. So all the attention afterwards has been always awkward because you're like, yeah, somebody already kind of claimed that and already did write the song, and it's dope, and like could come out on a real platform. So who knows?
you want to sneak peek who that is or no? You
No, I
want
can't.
to hold on to that?
That's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
one of those weird things. But there's been a lot of tension after that. I can say that
Mm-hmm.
like Jay Electronica is not that person that I'm talking about. I can say that pretty confidently. Although everybody seems to think that that's for some reason going to happen.
Right.
Social media is one of those strange places. But
It is a strange place.
and
Yeah. Go,
it's got a lot of a very like specific like hip hop head is really into it, which is I'm not mad at that. Those are certainly the people that are in my wheelhouse. I feel like I do other stuff than that. That's like always a little bit hard to draw that, but I feel really excited now that I have an album that's about to come out, and you know, uh, I feel like I'll be able to really hit that target with the stuff that I've been making. What was
yeah,
your
it's like
question though? I'm sorry. I
kind of
feel
the
like
perfect storm. No, no,
yeah,
no. It's I was gonna say it kind of led me to something else that I saw like with social media, the beauty of kind of uh, being able to post these types of videos. So like these
yeah,
kind of shorter bite-sized pieces of music, but then you also on the flip side get people pirating that stuff and releasing
yeah.
that stuff as their own. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of like
All right.
giving yourself to the world, but also like kind of once you get a certain amount of people and eyes on you and ears more so on you,
Yeah.
there's kind of that flip side of like people ripping that and abusing that
Right, right.
music.
I didn't expand on the other day about really what happened as far as that was concerned, but I appreciate that you took the time to see that, whatever. Because yeah, I mean, the one that had happened that day that had made me feel some type of way was that somebody had taken that aforementioned "On My Way" track and posted it as their own song on Spotify. Without editing anything, without doing anything, and was basically using it as a tool, and posting on the post to try to get traffic towards it. um and so I was starting to get a lot of messages about it, blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
unfortunately that isn't the first time this has even happened. It's just like maybe the most egregious one, because usually people change something. Usually people do something,
Yeah,
Usually
ultra
somebody
excited.
raps on it or does, that one was just like, what are you doing? Like,
Hmm.
and I just felt violated by that idea. But I will say I've kind of cooled off on that because I understand that like these little clips are also like creating my whole shit. Like, and I'm super grateful for whatever comes out of that, for better or for worse. And I am ultimately kind of flattered that somebody would want to do that. Um, but I think I'm kind of like a over emotional artist in some ways, and my instant reaction is maybe not for social media, which is why I often don't post. um, but that certainly made me see the ups and downs of it because I've really seen a lot of ups of it. To be honest, since the pandemic. And for anybody listening that doesn't know my work or whatever, I had a couple albums that were out around the time we probably linked up, blah blah
Hmm.
blah. But pre-pandemic, I was about to start working as a dishwasher again. So up here in a restaurant just to keep things flowing. So it's but since lockdown, a lot of things have changed workflow wise, and it's just been normalized to do a lot more remote work, which I was already starting to do a lot of, but um, been really helpful, and it's just been able to like spread the message in a different kind of way, in a more focused way. I've had more time to kind of like work on producing myself as an artist, like as a producer, like, which I'd never really thought of that before until like I really had this time being
What were
up
you
here.
thinking
I was
before
like,
though?
oh, treat it like you treat everybody else. I don't know, like the songs that don't make it for other stuff, I'll put out, and
Hmm.
I'll have some stuff because I got all these leftover songs. Wasn't very focused. It was just like I feel like I should be doing something, which I think is often a great way to start for anybody. It's like just like get out of your own way a little bit and just like start to actually go in the right direction and just like see what that feels like and see if you have any more ideas in that world. And for me, it's been flowing since I was able to like get that moving. But it,
What got you there? Like that, because I remember, right before my life changed in terms of like, kind of felt like I was doing the dishwasher thing. Actually,
mm,
mine was more so like I was catering at like for like a cater company. So I would wake up at 5 a.m., go
yeah,
make some cheese sandwiches, make all these
yeah,
like little dishes, and then cater like these bat mitzvahs in
yeah,
the Bay
yeah, yeah,
Area. And then it kind of felt like this repetitive grind, like kind of the weight. What I love to make music, but there's
yeah,
also this like, how do I get out of this? And then something shifts, and you can't really explain it. It's definitely like a timing thing, but also there's a lot of pieces. But for
yeah,
you, in that pre-pandemic, about to
yeah,
go to the restaurant industry, where were you at like creatively? Like were you making videos online,
yeah.
like similar to what you're doing, or?
Yeah, I would say that shift that you're talking about is honestly a couple years before that. And that
Mm.
that kind of dishwashing moment is kind of just like one of those natural humps in life. But I would say a few years ago, uh, I would say like 2017, 18, I was still living in Brooklyn. And I was starting to post some of my beats with animations on them, just like GIFs. And, a friend of mine who's younger was kind of like, man, you should start playing in your videos. And around that time, you know, my bass was also stolen. My first custom bass that was meant a lot to me, and
Oh, I
not
thought you
not the
meant you
Mustang.
stole it.
No, no,
Oh,
no, 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 no.
whoa.
No, I had had this like my first custom Mike Tobias bass that meant the world to me, and I got did this whole moving company job to get it before I moved there. Got stolen within a couple months of me moving into New York. So
Oh.
you know, like I started like doing stuff, and then that happened, and unfortunately my cousin passed away around the same time, and that all just opened up this portal for me that's hard to describe. That's just like, man, I'm just here now. Like, I gotta be fucking going for this and stop. Like, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, you know, around that age, like 25, I think it's important to like make the shift of like not being like the victim in your own story anymore. And I feel like that's kind of where what I started to shift. I was like, before that, I was like, man, these motherfuckers not giving me a chance, and felt like everybody else needed to give me a chance, and then kind of made the thing like, oh, I need to make these chances for myself because those are going to be the chances that feel good also. So it's definitely started going for a lot of stuff, and I'm sure what some of the stuff I do could be seen as like uh, a lot for somebody that doesn't know me because I post a lot and all that. Post videos a lot. I don't really post anything personal ever, but I could see how it could come off as something. But I think as long as the energy coming out of it was really positive, I could justify it. And it wasn't like very self-aggrandizing in the way that I find to be very gross on social media. So if I could keep it really simple, like just play, and at first I would just play bass into a camera, and then over time it's kind of morphed, you know, and and now it's kind of important that I do more stuff than just play bass. Um, where like there was a little transition,
Mm-hmm.
and just like show the process, like tell people what it is, like you don't have to be like so mysterious with certain things because like people want to know, they want to be involved in that process, and you can let them in as much as you feel comfortable, you know and use that to your advantage. And now like yeah, people have an insight of what I do in this room now in a real way, that feels at least something close to what the vibe is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
can kind of curate it in a certain way so it feels whatever. But yeah, it doesn't, now I feel like I'm completely like just doing my own thing. Um, but before that, I was playing in a lot of projects. I wasn't really my own boss before that, and it
Were
was
you
like,
kind of known as like a bass guy
yeah,
versus kind
yeah,
of okay?
yeah, totally. I mean, but yeah, I went to school for jazz performance, and I was playing upright and stuff. And after that, kind of slowly
Mm-hmm.
transitioned back into like being a band leader and doing other stuff. I was in a band called Mad Sata for a long time with my friend Joanna Teeters, and it was like an 8 person, band with a horn section, and that was like my 5 years after school was working on that. And so I always liked putting projects together, even since I was way younger than that. I always loved putting bands together, putting projects together. Cartoons is the first like thing I've really done by myself, but I always view it as a grown up version of something I did called Ben Carr and Friends when I was 19. You know, it's really just that with a better name. uh, same concept. Like I'm making all the beats, getting my homies to come over, do dope shit on it, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just got a slightly better ring to it,
That's kind of that the part about kind of like realizing like I guess from your perspective when you kind of stepped into your got out of your own way
Hmm.
and you started to um not be distracted by like hey I want to try to work for this person and this person disappoints me because they don't either respond. I'm just assuming that we probably have similar
Yeah,
instances
yeah. I mean,
but
sure.
there's like a point like you mentioned where you do kind of just like focus on yourself and as corny as it is like
Hmm.
it's really powerful like that shift of focus kind of helps dramatically in kind of creating something that feels good and kind of it chops a lot of fat off of the
Yeah,
day to day and like the creation too because then things start to like build in a way that is sustainable.
absolutely.
Is so you're not signed. You are completely indie. Do you have a manager? Do you have a team? Is there
Well,
anything?
well, it's all up until this point. You can basically consider it up until today, but I mean, it's all been stuff that's kind of in the works for like a year. I am actually, I'll be announcing it more publicly that I signed to Wichita Records recently, which put out like My Morning Jacket, Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Bright Eyes, stuff like that.
Amazing.
back when I was growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
homie Mark that runs their label now like manages Shigeto, who I'm a huge fan of. Open Mike
Mm-hmm.
Eagle, who's like one of my favorites, and kind of reached out just because he heard it on Spotify and was really vibing. And last year I was took kind of a handful of meetings with people that were into it or was sending it out, blah blah blah. And I really just wanted to put something out on vinyl this year. That was the try to maintain whatever I could with it and put something out in a physical way this year. And I certainly had my own dreams of starting my own label. Uh, the rough label name being Rosendale Records, which is like if you move to Beacon, you'll learn about Rosendale. It's my hometown, little bumfuck town, which is becoming kind of cool now. um,
Nice.
uh, but I kind of wanted to get more involved and like learn the ins and outs of like what do you really do if you're on
Mm.
this stuff. Like I've been such an indie guy forever. I don't really know what labels even really do. Like how am I supposed to start a label if like I don't even know how it feels to be the artist in that. So I think it will be an interesting learning experience. It has been already. It's been a great experience already. And the single for that will be out in March
Amazing.
for the album called Homegrown. I don't know when this episode's coming out, but
It'll probably be like, yeah, probably around then. Yeah.
okay,
Probably great
cool.
timing. Yeah.
Okay, great, great. Hopefully, I'm allowed to talk about this. Uh, I think it's fine. But yeah, so that's kind of like starting a little bit the next chapter, and that album Homegrown has really been the my baby for the last year and a half, and made it all in the crib, obviously, hence the title. My
Mm-hmm.
best friend from elementary school did the artwork. My dad's on strings the whole thing.
No way.
I mixed the whole joint, did it all here often with like, my my old cat and girlfriend just chilling in the back.
It's
So
featuring your cat?
it's featuring the cat. I think there might even be a cat somewhere in the record, if I'm being honest.
Nice.
But yeah, just a very like earthy, heartfelt kind of thing that I wanted to share in that way, and kind of already have the next thing already lined up that I'm working on right now. So that already feels so distant to me. It's weird that it still hasn't coming out. That's why I'm like, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. Who cares?
Do
Um,
you do you like releasing old music? Like are you the type like new music is like the stuff that you want to prioritize, or is it hard for you? Have you gotten where are you at with that? Like is it easy to release old music? Is it hard or
well, I feel like I've sifted through that stuff so deeply that it's
Mhm.
stuff that's going to sound pretty good to me for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, I like to think that at least, obviously we all have our own things where we hate after we release them, but there's a couple of jams on there especially that I feel like I'll like forever. And it depends. The new stuff always is the most exciting. Like I would say my most recent bounce is obviously like the thing I want to listen to
Mhm.
more than not. Uh, but you can always tell. I can always tell when I share with people what the real shit is, though. So there's a few on there that would still be the one that I would show to somebody that hasn't seen me in a while. So that feels good that those are those tracks, and
Mhm.
you know, kind of it some of it already feels like a little bit of like the last chapter, like I'm saying, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, and I start to kind of like I've started to love that stuff more. Where I used to like be the guy that never listened to my old stuff. But my most recent album, Saturday Morning,
Mhm.
I still love all the jams on that. Like that one still feels really good to me, and like the first of a sound, that I've been really trying to do for a long time. And now it's like, okay, now that was the real. I consider that the first album, even though I have stuff out before that. That's like that's kind of the first album to me.
Interesting. Yeah, from my perspective when I hear your stuff, I think there's like a I do feel similar to you. I feel like this stuff will have a long shelf life because there's natural instrumentation in it.
Hmm.
Although there is like there is some like kind of synthetic elements to it. There's a lot
Yeah.
of natural
Yeah.
instrumentation that I feel like it's tough because like some people, I mean, people will disagree, whatever. But from my perspective, I think natural instruments will forever live
Yeah.
on, or have like a longer kind of like lifespan.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think like a lot of the stuff that you've created is super tasteful too,
Mm.
and from every element of the records too, from the drums to
Mm.
kind of every layer
Yeah.
of it, which is really cool. And it's cool to see, like, because I when I first like kind of found out about you, it was I mainly saw the bass elements, but then as I saw more and more, it was like, oh shit, there's vocals, there's like you
Hmm.
kind of are doing kind of every bit. Um, I wanted to ask you too, uh, from you know, in this place of like now having building kind of your next evolution, like kind of once you get out of this, I mean, I guess we're all going from caterpillar to cocoon to butterfly
Right.
over and over again.
Yeah. It just keeps happening. That's the
It
fun
keeps
part.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to hear that you're kind of looking at growing and expanding that way, and like that you keep that curiosity. Do you do you have kind of any fears about maybe going to business? So like with the label side, like maybe going like a little too much of like a high level overview versus remove from the music, or
Yeah, I do. Yeah, for sure. Because I'm a guy that's very self-sufficient and I am my own manager right now.
hmm
Sometimes, you know, uh, now there's been a shift, in my time and like how I can spend it for sure. Um, and I would prefer to just be making jams for sure. But I also have to live my life, so I'm not really mad at like having to deal with the business stuff, to be honest. Like, and I like knowing what's happening. You know, I felt like, in my band I was mentioning earlier, Mad Sad. I felt like I had, you know, as a young person, I thought you're supposed to, as the artist, check out and like let somebody else take care of that. And that was really like the what ended up defeating that band. Was like
mm,
letting other people take control of it, and then like people feel some type of way about blah blah blah. So I feel like the more I can kind of just communicate and like be a self-sufficient person, the clearer that's all gonna be. So I like doing the business stuff, but I also, I wanna make sure music is first all the time. Like right now, I
hmm
feel like I'm in a little bit of a probably like a slower period than usual output wise. But I
hmm
also understand that like I need to pace myself. Like I made like you know hundreds of tracks last year. Like if I'm being like humble about it, I made hundreds. So I need to take a little time. And this holiday has been kind of cool. Like I had hurt my finger, so that kind of shut me down. Around the time the video really went viral, I couldn't do shit. So
wow,
uh,
crazy timing.
I was like, great, I have a bunch of joints that I can send to people or whatever. And, uh, it's been nice that there's been a shift where when people contact me now, I often am like, hey, do you want to do something on my project first? So, because you know how it can be kind of awkward in that way. It's like, we're strangers. I don't really owe you anything. So people hit you up in a very aggressive way, expecting you to like basically start working for me today, with no
No dinner
guidelines,
date.
no guidelines or anything. Just like trust that I'm a good person because my music is dope. Um, and
Ah, so
so
interesting.
so I've been able to like keep the ball in my court a lot recently, which is nice.
Yeah.
Where I found myself kind of like giving away a lot of my best tracks in the last few years, and then like they end up in limbo and never come out, blah blah blah.
hmm
Um, so that's been a nice shift this year. Um,
Taking control,
yeah,
taking control,
yeah,
and managing your well being.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, like the business stuff, to any younger people, don't let somebody just run your whole stuff and check out, don't. That's the worst thing you could do. Like you should know what's happening. You should know where the money's going because you're gonna have to pay it back yourself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, you're gonna have to figure all that stuff out at some point. It's like you're just gonna. So I was lucky that that bubble burst for me pretty early. But for younger people that might be like a little bit more of a star in the natural sense than I am, uh, take care of your shit, man. That's for whatever it's worth. Like that's why I'm into the business thing. That's why I try to at least spend some time like making sure that that thing is together, or else like cartoons is just not going to live its best life.
Mm-hmm.
I can make the dopest jams imaginable. But like, there's, I don't know, there's just a couple small things that have really helped a lot that are like quote unquote business, but they're just like being smart, you know? Just like, how can I make
Mm-hmm.
money? Now I'm 30 and, thinking about like we were talking about at the beginning, like buying a house and all that stuff. So, that becomes a reality. And, like it or not, I do need to do a certain amount of that. And
Mm-hmm.
last year, I was lucky to get a coffee commercial that really like lightened up the load for me, you know, and made me able to take a lot of these projects that I'm talking about. Because before that, I didn't really have that. That like, I could say I wanted to do cool stuff all I wanted, but then come end of the month, I was doing, whatever I could. Um,
Unholy things.
some songs that aren't so great. Um,
Sure.
but
Do you how is the do you often get syncs? Like, do you have other kind of revenue streams as an independent artist? So syncs or any type of other kind of income from this?
streaming has been pretty good to me if I'm being honest,
Good.
because I put out a lot of my music on DistroKid and like I said, like kind of manage my own thing and we'll just kind of split stuff with features and if songs do well, then it's okay. They have to do very well for you to get money. Obviously, we kind of know how Spotify works and all that, but um, in there's been a couple features I've done that were also put out independently. That it's been nice to just kind of have a direct right into your bank account at the end of the month kind of thing for some of those. So I've been more actually getting money from streaming than syncs in general. The coffee commercial being kind of like I guess you could call that a sync. And then I have one coming this year that I still haven't figured out that is exciting. Um, and hopefully I can make a little more of a transition into doing that and the whole working smarter and not harder situation with the
Hmm.
library of music that I've been developing. But
How many tracks you at? What's your library at
it's
that
pretty.
you own? That you own?
Oh,
Like,
that like I own is on DistroKid.
like just in general, like maybe in your exports folder.
Oh, somebody made me ask this on the last thing I did too, but it wasn't public. Um, it's in the thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's what I would figure.
yeah.
Like snippets. Like what
Yeah,
are we talking? Like,
they're not all finished.
yeah.
I,
Yeah. Cool.
I generally like really only finish stuff I love. If I'm being
Mhm.
honest, like I can get pretty far in 2 3 hours with a track,
Mhm.
and I often just make an export of it. And if it's something I love, I'll go back to and give it the right treatment. But as the last few years have gone on, the ones that I spent like 6 hours on, I really spend the day on, and really craft it and kind of take it from that like okay
Mm.
place to like that magic place. Those end up being the ones that are on the record when I have that focus level to do that in the day.
Mm. Mhm.
Often those end up being the best, you know. So
I
uh,
do. I do wanna. I wanna. I mean, that's a shit ton. First of all, I do wanna. While we're kind of like close to the topic of like the label and being indie, but also being a musician too, that is also that has the the output in that sense. There's one label that I came across like probably last year. I feel fucking late, to be
Mm.
honest. Big Crown Records,
Okay.
which is run by, it's based in New York. I'm gonna send it to you. But they have like Lady Ray
Yeah, I was about to say,
and
is the Lady Ray thing? Yeah, because
yeah,
I listened to that album. It's amazing.
crazy album. But the owner of the label, I believe his name is L. Michaels Affair, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This guy does it right. I feel like he's like involved with all of the artist records for the most part, from what I've seen, but
Mm-hmm.
also is like running and curating this label. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that might be something cool to look at from your perspective too.
Yeah.
Who he's very musical. You'll dig the music across this whole record.
Is he doing the stuff on the Lady Ray record? He's playing on it? And
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
Oh,
playing on it.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. I
Because I've
feel
been
like
wondering
that's
what the vibe was on that. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not too sure, like like what capacity or how extensive it is, but I feel like that's when you told me that, that's the first person I thought of. It was like a
Yeah.
musician, an artist who is, and a producer who is like running a label as well, and the
Yeah.
quality that comes from this and like the consistency is insane. Like probably my favorite label.
Man, I
As of
gotta, I
late.
gotta, I gotta look into that. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, like the holy grail for labels for me has always been Stone's Throw, um,
Mm.
as far as like stuff I'm into, and
Mm-hmm.
that's always been like the one. But I will say, stuff where stuff like that is always really exciting to me, where it's like one person's vision and stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why Wichita was so exciting to me. It's like, this is a guy that runs a thing that's like contacting me personally. It's not like a bunch of these gatekeeping type of things
Mm-hmm.
where I'm talking to somebody through somebody, and it's like I don't even know what they think. I can't really gauge the vibe. I'm not really that into that. And
Yeah.
you know, somebody like what you're talking about is, that's, I always joke that like I'm trying to make like the East Coast Rick Rubin spot up here, up in Beacon. But like what me and Rick do isn't very similar actually, because like he doesn't even go to the computer or play. He's more of just like a mental coach, which I'm into too. I'm also very into that, and I feel like that's a big part of what I do. But being able to actually craft it is like a different world when you can directly go mind meld like that and then like turn it into sonics. I think that's kind of a different thing than what Rick's
For
doing. I
sure.
mean, obviously he's like my favorite producer all the time, but I have a slightly different vision for what that could be.
And that's the beauty. That's what makes this music thing evolve and so beautiful, is taking kind of the foundation that these visionaries have set and kind of molding it in your own way. Because also there was no, the format that you've kind of been releasing your music on too,
Mm-hmm.
via video and playing, was not a thing when Rick was around.
Right, right,
And the access to this type of audience into the world globally, not even
right.
not even just domestically. Um, that's what's yeah. It's gonna be a really interesting, like, to see 10 years from now how music is consumed and how
Right.
we're kind of interacting with it. Will me and you be in a VR headset and
Right.
playing, jamming there? It could be
Right.
very possible.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, absolutely. I try not to get too tripped out on that stuff right now, though, because I feel like it's very counter of what I do. Like,
Hmm.
what I mean, the future of music is definitely super endless and all that, but I'm trying to keep things so simple right now. Because, like,
Yes.
I'm an overthinker by nature. So I could go there with anybody all day. I could talk about, like, the future of NFTs and music, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, that's like a rabbit hole I don't enjoy because I find it to be counterintuitive to, like, the primal nature of what I'm trying to get to.
And also,
Um,
like, what's available now, like what's right in front of you right
right,
now, and mastering that. And
right.
yeah, I see what you mean, and I feel that completely. That's
I've already tried to
smart.
like I've already tried to engineer a sound intentionally. And I don't like for an audience or for a thing or for a time that's in the future. And I find that to be too vague for myself. um, so, I think being more present with like this is what I can do right now is great for me. And like I don't know. the whole like VR part of music is like definitely a trip to me right now. Or like I was saying, NFTs right now because that's kind of like the buzzword of
Mm-hmm.
January.
Mm-hmm.
um,
January.
I've gotten like probably 5 or 6 text messages like, man, have you thought about putting out your next song as an NFT? Like, blah blah blah. You know, I think that's for
What'd you
another.
say? Dot dot
I,
dot. No.
I think people that are more knowledgeable in that world, that's for them. Like I'm just not gonna jump into like shit I don't know about and just like hope it goes well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've just tried to do stuff like that enough times to know like this is not your lane right now. You know, the people like I'm trying to make like super organic stuff for like people that love like are music heads. Like I'm not really trying to do anything besides that. So the NFT thing I find to be actually too business oriented for what I'm trying to go for. You know what I mean? Like those aren't really that's not the audience I want right now. I think that
Mm-hmm.
will switch soon and there's going to be a lot more normal people and people that aren't like it's not going to be basically like NFT and Bitcoin live in the same kind of universe. Um, and I think when that happens, I'll be a little bit more open to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when but right now, I just find that like it's really cool for a select few people that have been waiting for this moment, and God bless them. God bless them for hitting that bullseye. And
Yeah.
I think I've also done that in my own little weird way.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm going to kind of keep going with that. That's kind of where I stand on it. you know?
Copy that. No, I
Yeah.
mean you sound like a practical person.
Yeah.
And like and I feel like maybe younger cartoons would be like, oh, that sounds like chase those things, but it sounds
hmm
like you've kind of whittled down your focus into kind of things that make sense for you and
Yeah.
that feel good too, and not
Yeah.
not kind of reaching outside of that. And
Yeah.
that's I think, yeah, that's a really important thing to have, especially like you said, like getting older and things, at the end of the day, having to, you can kind of chase a lot of really shiny things, um but at the end of the day, it makes the most sense to just like kind of whittle down those
Yeah.
distractions.
Yeah, and just know
um
your strengths and like lean into
mhm.
them. And like, go all in on those things that you're great at, And that's as far as like how I edit videos on Instagram, it's certainly that. Cuz I'm not much more capable of doing what I'm showing. Like I can kind of do that.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
that's it, That's
yeah.
basically it. There's not a whole lot more than that. I'm not going to be like if you meet me in person, I'm not going to be shredding piano like that or anything crazy. I can play kind of whatever. I speed stuff up a lot. I use a lot of producer tricks to record stuff. I'm not ashamed to say that. I can play instruments well enough to not feel weird about that.
Mhm.
I like
Mhm.
using tools. Like anybody that's ever done a session with me will know that like, very speed is like, you know, a language to me. It's like a lifestyle, you know.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, every track that's on Saturday morning is very sped and mixed that way, on the master track. And
Wow.
so it's like out of tune in a way. So like I've been messing around with like little studio tricks like that for a while, and that's what's fun to me. So like I like doing stuff that sounds kind of normal and making it with studio tricks sound cool. I think that's great. You know,
Mhm.
uh, that's like what sampling is in its nature to me.
Mhm.
So definitely like give me a new concept of like quote unquote sampling myself and all that, which I think was kind of what led to like that sound being like, oh, this is like the shit. This sounds like uh, that nostalgic sound of this sounds like the jams that I used to listen to when I would get stoned with my friends in high school. When we were
Mhm.
listening to
Mhm.
like Madlib, Quasimodo, all those like kind of Stone Sour records I was talking about. Like this captures that feeling, but like I'm doing my thing, whether that's nerdier and jazzier somehow. I don't know what it is,
Mhm.
but it is that, just kind of it.
Mhm.
And a lot of those jams actually I made in my parents' house. which like gave it that extra, you know, weird. Wow, this is like nostalgia shit, you know. And they didn't love when I was making it. I'm gonna be real, which kind of that tension is nice, you know. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of it is kind of nice to have a little bit of drama in the
yeah,
life, with the music. It keeps it juicy, you know.
yeah, you know, me and my pops were not in a great place when Ray sent me the lyrics to Father, so that made that super deep to me, and I
Wow.
was like, shit. I mean, this isn't my story, but I can like, I can fill in my own little blanks where this like means a lot to me in this moment. And I'd been on such a Stevie Wonder kick, and she said that. I was like, oh shit. So sometimes those little dots are like, for me, those are the type of things I'm really leaning in towards with creating right now. Stuff that like has a story inherently. It's not like
Mhm.
I'm trying to force it later. Like this is dope. Just listen to it, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
something that where because like I said, I made a lot of things. Like there's a lot of things out there, but you know, uh, the seeds to special stuff is like hard to come by. You know, I press record a lot so I can try to find those things, but like uh, they just don't happen every day. They just don't to a certain extent. Like
Mhm.
um, and I think editing is like the big part of producing for me. You know, like that's what it is. Just being able to be like, I don't love that, and being able to move on and not marry that. That's what makes me okay at it, because like I'm
Mhm.
not that precious with stuff, and I'm the guy in the room that will be like, we can do better, and but not say that and not try to make it better.
Right.
I will give you my all after I say that. I promise.
Uh, just that's it.
Well,
Um.
yeah, because everybody knows that feeling. You're
Right.
in the studio and somebody's like, "Man, this isn't it," and you're in love with it, and you're like, "Okay, all right, what's it then?
What's
Uh,
it?
what are we doing?" So,
Do you have any kind of like session horror stories? Like, is there maybe like something recently? No names have to be said, but like I just always find it funny hearing producers' stories of these situations
man,
because there's a lot.
I'd probably have to
Yeah.
go back farther to be honest, because like, recently things have been pretty good. I've been like
Hmm.
very much in control of my destiny of who's in my house. Um,
Right.
but there was definitely a while where I was living in New York, where I was bouncing from spot to spot, doing a lot of 2 to 3 hour sessions at spots, bringing my little Scarlett and my bass over, computer, making some joints, whatever. And some of them went well, some of them did not. The one that comes to my mind is really funny, actually. Um, uh, it has like so little to do with music, which is what's funny about it. But this dude, Julian Apter, shout out if he ever hears this. He was like probably one of the first people to ever hit me up and be like, "Man, I love cartoons. Like I'm into it. It's super dope." And I was really flattered by that. And he was like, "Let's set up a session." And he lived a few, like in the neighborhood in Bed-Stuy, and I went over there. And he's a super nice kid. Um, and he like, he took like a little bong rip with some tobacco in it. It was like very college vibes, and I was like, damn, these dudes are getting real. And I'm setting up my shit, and I finally got it. And then all of a sudden, like, there's like a pounding on the door, and I'm like vague on the details now, but one of the younger tenants in the building had taken a weed brownie and then called the police. And then her mom also was involved. And for some reason, they had like come to our door, and this kid was so sweet. He was like trying to figure it out with them. So I made like a whole jam like while he was like dealing with like straight up chaos. I like made a whole track just chilling and just kind of like looking back. It was like first time ever meeting this dude, and then he came back in after dealing with the police outside. Like
Oh.
I and like it was just like this whole mess. I don't even know how he was involved. He actually had nothing to do with it, which is like what makes it crazy. And his roommate was like, "Man, he's so nice. He's too nice, man. I don't know why he's doing this."
Holy
And
shit.
he came back inside and he was like, "Oh, you already did it." And
Yeah.
then, but we made some other shit. It was super great. And I actually had a great experience working with him. And I love working with strangers in that way, just like jumping into it. Sometimes even just not getting to know each other first,
Mm,
and
mm.
just kind of like pressing record and just seeing what we can speak on a musical language together first, and kind of figure it out after that. Um, I find that catches people off guard in a good way.
Yeah.
Um, and like sometimes once you get into the hang, it's actually too comfortable. You know, and then and I like to think of myself as a very comforting guy, but I want to put people on the spot a little bit for a second. See if we can do some like not thinking type, like, oh shit, make some stuff real quick. Um, so often,
Yeah.
often I kind of get right into it, and that was a case where I got right into it. I could have just sat around and just observed
Yeah.
it, I guess, but the anxiety in me was like, you know what, just fucking put some drums together. And at that
Right.
point, I was just doing like drums and samples, so I like made something in like 20 minutes. That was like pretty sick.
Yeah.
um,
That's hilarious. Yeah, like I think that happened to me in college where I took a brownie and just I felt like I was gonna literally die. Like
yeah, yeah.
my mind, every time slowed down into just the now, and I was like, oh, I'm never getting out of this. And then I got out, and everything was fine.
Yeah,
But
I observed that for the first time recently of like it really bad, like
uh-huh.
you're in the room the whole time. Like that other time, I wasn't really there for that. That was kind of like, this is your problem.
Yeah.
But no, seeing that for real is pretty trippy, man. People are basically like heavier than mushrooms in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
twitching, whole fucking thing. My
Yeah.
tolerance to weed is embarrassingly high. So when I take edibles, they don't really affect me like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I wish they did. I like want to get there. It's sad to
Yeah.
say. I kind of like want to get there, but I know I don't. Having seen it now, I'm like, okay, no.
Right.
I don't actually like want to fucking call the police.
Yeah.
Serious,
The-
like out of serious way.
right. Right. Switching gears a little bit. Uh, and good for you. Like I'm glad you can probably eat an entire cake and not, not feel shit.
Good for you.
But
Yeah.
but like kind of dream collaborations for you at the moment. Like I know you mentioned Shigeto,
Mm.
which has been like one of not as a collaboration, but you mentioned him, and it kind of brought me back into like my initial kind of Lapalux, Slow Mo,
Yeah.
Flying Lotus. I think was a big influence for
Hell
us.
yeah.
Like from a producer side, who are kind of those names for you that really like made you think different about and kind of push you, like when you hear someone you're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this will set me on a new track, like a new
Yeah.
mindset.
I would say Madlib is the first one that comes to mind. I was obsessed with Quasimodo and Madlib and all that shit, and the idea
Mm.
of somebody that like transitioned to playing more stuff on it, didn't give a fuck how weird it was, just like doing artful, incredible work. Like Madlib was always probably my favorite in that way, and the person that steps out. I always loved super producers though. Like I've deeply studied Timberland. Deeply
Mhm.
studied Rick's music, which I mentioned before. Um, Salam Remy is one that I've gone pretty deep down the rabbit hole in that. Jimmy Jam, you know, those type of people that make this universal prolific stuff that like touches a nerve. Those are the people that really fascinate me. And
Mhm.
I would love to just be a fly on the wall almost more than collaborate with. Um, Collaborations are funny. Like I find that every time I try to do something with somebody that like I think is the one, it's like not like that. So
Mhm.
it's always weird. But people that I'm a fan of, like artistically, Freddie Gibbs is probably the first MC that comes to mind. I just feel like those projects with Madlib and the yin and yang of that is like a sound I've always really wanted to do. Something that's like kind of got like this brightness to it, but it's very dark. And like kind of like hits the
Well
soul and
put.
to
Yeah.
different people in different ways. Um, So I always love an MC like that. The whole like I grew up on like so much East Coast hip hop, so like the Wu Tang stuff was always like if I could make a track with a member of Wu Tang, that's always been like that would be amazing. Like the juxtaposition of me looking like me and not trying to be anything but that. Um, with that would be beautiful, I think. So that's always been like on the to do list. And uh, I would say that like Kanye was always a big producer in my world. Those first three records specifically, I go back to still and I think are amazing. Just like an amazing use of like how to make a sound for yourself, like I was saying earlier, like how to produce yourself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like find that thing that you can kind of do over your shit and like make it work because it's not particularly you know whatever like but the flow of it is so beautiful and it's so personal, right? And that's what I love about those records. uh Thinking about other, those are the ones that jump out to me
Yeah.
as far as like
Yeah.
people that like had that effect. I'm sure I'm like forgetting people, but newer people, DJ Harrison, my guy, fucking blown away by his work every time. I'd say like that would be number one person that comes to mind, and is doing all sorts of different type of stuff and is keeping his sound, is like this is like what I do, and there's a broad spectrum of what I do, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's in this vibe, and I always love that, and it's like it's like also for them, it's like this is Virginia, and I've always wanted to have that for where I come from, uh, I always like wanted to make like a sound that like felt like upstate for people, and it was like nostalgic in that way for the people that like regionally were up here. Um, so that's always been like a weird inspiration that kind of crosses both those ways. So
Cool. Cool. That's amazing. And I hear all of those influences in the music now. In terms of collaborations, um, on to that point, it's like that what you're saying about thinking someone's the one, and then it's just like doesn't fit. It's like a square into a circle hole or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But usually, like for you, are you finding that a lot of the best collaborations are kind of right under your nose,
yeah,
like within arm's reach, like people that maybe have reached out, before, or like you've kind of collaborated, dabbled with, like how's
yeah.
that going?
Well, I find that the people that like want to be on the album sound the best on the album.
Hmm.
That's like the easiest way that I could put. Like when if I have to beg somebody to do it, it's just like never really gonna come out in that. It's never gonna have that magic that I'm saying I'm looking for. Like it could have that name and it could be that thing, but I would love to be in the room a lot of the time if it's gonna be like that situation. Somebody that we've already had a thing, we already have a vibe. I'll do remote stuff with all the time because we have that like
Hmm.
thing. But when you said under your nose, that is true for me because right now, I felt like last year was like the first time that a lot of people were really reaching out on like a larger scale, and it's really having to like juggle like my time on like friend stuff versus like stuff that pays a little bit better, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
And now like with this next project, past homegrown, which I won't say the name of, um, uh, a lot of the people I'm working with right now are people that are my really good friends and people that we've kind of had some stuff and blah blah blah, but we haven't really locked in. And those are the people that are really excited about it right now and like just are hungry and like want to do shit. And those that come out way better, than like, bro, I heard your fucking viral track. I want some beats. Blah blah blah. Um, that that's like not good enough for me right now. And
Sorry, guys and gals. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Well, also like so many people snitch on themselves when they tell you they're like, "Oh, you guys are dope." So I'm like, "All right, you can tell." I tell you, you've never seen any video besides that one,
Right,
or
right,
that
right.
I mean, fair to assume that Cartoons is a
Sure,
band.
sure,
Sure,
sure.
I get it, whatever. But come on, man. Like I'm clearly only me, and like 200 videos. Um, so
Right. Right.
I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah. Or us.
Yeah, or
Whatever you
us,
think.
you know. And now everybody thinks I can play drums, like because Count is playing, and you can't see his face in
Right.
that. So
Right.
that's its own problematic situation that I'm gonna have to deal with. Like, by the way, I can only program drums. I understand how they're supposed to sound, but you know,
Let's get a little technical. What are you using? Like
mm,
so what's your setup looking like right now?
um, nothing crazy. I'm not a gear guy. It's not what I do. Um, I have Yamaha 5-inch joints right here that don't
Hell
sound
yeah.
great.
Strong 5 inch.
Yeah. And then I got, I just got a Apollo. I made everything up until like recently with the Scarlett.
Yeah, the cute
Um,
little Scarlet. I used to rock a Scarlet
yeah.
too.
I
Yeah.
had like the
It
second
works.
gen one that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's funny, buying that Scarlett was how I got Addictive Keys because it came with the Scarlett. And I posted a
Nice.
video which is how I posted, ended up connecting with XLN Audio, and I swear by their shit. I'm happy to plug their shit any time of day because addictive drums especially is like really my shit. And
Hmm.
I basically practice making addictive drums like somebody would like practice writing. Um, I make a few every day, or I try to.
Yeah.
Just kind of messing around with other plugins. Um, you know, Saturation, compression, other, you name it, whatever the newest shit I got is, I'm trying to mess with.
Hmm.
Experiment, even if it's just on laptop speakers, kind of messing around in the house. Just making stuff, getting the flow going, and then if stuff really hits a nerve, then I'll like plug it in a lot. That's, I
Hmm.
mean, in the morning, that's like kind of my workflow a lot of the time recently. Just making loops, getting the rhythm first, and then kind
Hmm.
of like getting the melodies and stuff after that.
You starting with the drums a lot of the times.
Yeah, man. I'm a drums first guy a lot of time, and even I've kind of like intentionally made a lot of melodic samples without drums and stuff over the last couple of years. Just like get out of the mindset this guy will be all rhythmic to be dope. Like let's make some melodies that are great, and then I can kind of
Hmm.
DJ those two ideas together often.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so I kind of think of that as two different processes a lot of the time with my own original music right now.
Hmm.
Like the melodic stuff is often like I don't want even thinking about drums, and then I'll just know that I have a ton of shit at that tempo, and I kind of like will mix match stuff afterwards like a DJ would, and basically make my own remix, and call it a song a lot of the time.
Hmm.
Um,
That's super cool. So you're like kind of building a library simultaneously
yeah,
of melodies and kind of song structures, and then also these drum
yeah,
patterns that you can then, yeah, drag and drop, and
right,
then kind of alter from there. Yeah,
right, and
that's a sick way of doing it.
yeah, and I mean, often if I make a song and I'm not in love with one aspect of it, it's a cool way to kind of keep that thing in alive. You know what I mean? Like I made a
Hmm.
whole song. I did do the drums. Did do all this stuff in real time or whatever. And then I'm like, this shit is whack. But these drums are fucking amazing. Like I'm gonna just bounce those out, put it in the folder. Maybe it will fall on something else. So that I'm trying to maximize the work I'm doing for sure. Even though,
Like you
like I said,
said,
I don't use all of it. Like I am trying to
yeah,
maximize the stuff that the juice of it for sure.
totally. And that's also like you said earlier, working smarter, not harder too,
Yeah.
because then you're also kind of, it's not like those things will, they might never see the light of day, but also it's you have them in your pocket if you need
Right.
them, which I
Right.
think is like, and who knows, they might turn into a splice sample kit or into
Right.
like this or into that,
Right.
like the,
Right.
yeah, really kind of building future uh f- a future for these things,
Right. Right. And making my
regardless of if.
own sample packs has been a nice like little uh kind of change of pace where like
Mm,
I don't really have to sell them or do anything, but they're like just I always call it source material. And I like to go into any session with source material for somebody. And like, if we're gonna start a project, I'll probably make drums with them in mind first. Probably make a couple things in mind first, and then go into it. I often don't show them it till they're in the room,
mm-hmm.
and then it feels like magic. You know what I mean? Like kind of cut out the fat of a lot of that and make things faster and kind of already just have some shit that just allows the pen to get going. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
the quicker I can make that happen, the quicker the song's gonna get done, the faster everybody's
Right.
gonna be happy. So, um,
Yeah, that's one thing that I realized. Like being a producer is also being very organized. It's not like I had an instance early on in LA when I first moved there, 2017. I was working with the artist signed to Aftermath,
damn.
and my very first night met Dr. Dre there, and I barely fucking knew who he was, to be honest. That like
No
I knew
way.
who he was, but
Yeah,
like I didn't know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like what I saw from the producers in the room, like they have this. Yes, there's gonna be instances when you build stuff from scratch, but a lot of the times it's like starting with either a sample or a drum loop and like building
yeah,
from that.
yeah.
So it really like inspired me to like have I didn't have any of that shit together. So like going in
Hmm.
without those pieces, I felt like kind of naked.
Yeah.
And I had bounces of songs and blah blah blah. There's my baby girl.
Oh,
Um, uh,
what's her
but
name?
her name's Frankie.
Oh,
Frankie.
Frankie. God
Yeah.
bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh
She'll
man.
she'll meet you one day. I've been showing her. She's heard all of the songs with you
Oh
on them.
man.
Yeah.
What an honor. Jeez.
um, but yeah, but back to that. Like I think that is the most like efficient way of kind of collaborating is kind of starting with a bed at least
Yeah.
that you can pull from. Whether it is a singer or a rapper or another instrument
Yeah.
being added. That's really cool, man. That's really like I see a lot of similarities kind of in our process, but I feel like to me, I don't know about you, but my experience, like if I don't, I was at a place where I was making like 4 or 5 rough maybe loops a day,
Right.
down to kind of maybe 1 or 2, but spending a little more time on
Yeah.
those. Like, I was being affected though by like, you know, my energy and mood being dictated by my productivity. Does that happen
Yeah.
to you?
Whew. Damn. Yeah, you just told my life story of the last 5 years in that last 30 seconds. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've definitely also had a weird thing with that where it feels good to knock out a number. It feels like I'm a little bit of a workaholic in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not quite as satisfying to just have one good one as like four little seeds of something that may be
Mm-hmm.
something. But I will say in the long term, I would say that it's much more satisfying. Like I said, I find those things to like
Right.
have that magic, like extra touch to it. Especially if it's something that you didn't have a melodic idea beforehand. Sometimes when I
Mm-hmm.
have that thing like clear and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta make the brain turn into the computer, those things happen pretty quick. But
Mm.
when you're like messing around trying to, you know, make something happen, I find that making four in a day like that, those things aren't going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like my mix sucks on it. You
It's like
know?
half, like spread
Yeah,
thin.
yeah.
Like
Like some.
magic is spread thin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, I've been trying to definitely hone all that stuff in and trying to turn the four into a good two.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, that's definitely been my play because I I felt like it was all about sharpening the sword for a while, and I think it was to a certain extent. But um, now it's definitely reached a little. I want to get deeper as an artist, and less technical and more primal, emotional, and that
Mm.
way I can get to with a little more time, with a little less like trying to think of it like I'm on the computer making this amount this day because it's Tuesday. Um, yeah, I've loosened up on that a little bit recently, and it's been a little. It's allowed creative stuff to come out in a much more explosive way, which
Mm.
I like.
Mm.
And I kind of
Yeah.
like know my limits a little bit more now, where like I know I'm about to go to California for a week to work on music all day, so like I haven't been going hard the last couple of days. I've been like chilling, watching some movies, hanging.
That's slept on. That kind of like padding, that
Yeah.
pace
Yeah.
is slept on. Like I think there is, we kind of are in a time where it's like output, 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 and kind of knowing that treating it like a marathon
Yeah.
is really healthy for the mind. And also, like, I don't know about you, but if I take a week off and then I go back into it, shit just
Works better.
flows. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
works
feels
way better.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do that. It's
Yeah,
hard to,
well,
it's,
you can't just have the full court press on all the time. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like, there's a time for that for sure. Like, if you get
Mm-hmm.
a project, that needs a bunch of samples, hell yeah, make 4 samples in a day. If you're feeling it, whatever. But like, don't just do it just to do it. That's what I've learned at least.
Yeah.
And like, listen to your body and your brain. It's often trying to tell you something, and um, that I think there's also different people are different ways. Like, I have
Totally.
friends that I'm just like, bro, you just need to open up the computer. Because like, you just don't open up the computer. I know that the thing that keeps me going is that I'll open it up and then I'll be like, okay, shit, I do kind of want to do something now. But even though everything that morning was like, I really don't want to do this.
Uh-huh.
I'm a human like everybody else. Like, as much as I said I did a ton of jams or whatever, like, wake up plenty of days, I'm like, bro, I just like want to play basketball or do some other shit,
Mm-hmm.
or nothing, whatever. I love TV. I will scream. I just like grew up as a latchkey kid. Like, I fucking watched a lot of TV. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason why I'm so into music, really. Um, so like everybody else, I have my like little slumps and all that, but it's just about like maintaining that and trying to turn it into something positive when you can, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
That.
that's different for everybody, though. It's so hard to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to ask too, like, being in a relationship too.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you were with your gal for 8 years. Sorry, not 10 years, 8 years. Like,
8 years, yeah.
how's that balance been? Because I personally could not date a musician, but
Yeah,
it
same.
like, yeah, I don't think. I mean, and I didn't know if yours was or not, but like, just
Nah.
personally, I cannot. So a lot of respect to my lady for putting up
Yeah,
with my narcissistic
same,
ass.
same,
um,
same.
like,
No, it
how's
keeps
that
you in
been?
check.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, I'm sure you have a similar. I mean, yeah, my girlfriend works at a dentist's office. You know what I mean? So we have a different lifestyle.
Right.
In many ways, I'm like the guy who's home all day. I'm Mr. Mom here with a cat.
Uh-huh.
But uh, it's been really nice, man, because I was very singular. I mean, I am to a certain extent singularly focused on music, but before that, before we met, I was full pedal to the metal. 18 through 22 was an insane time for me. I was very bad at music before then, I will say. Like, I grew up with a dad who's a jazz musician, and I always grew up doing stuff, and I was playing, blah, blah, blah. But I never really took the time, never like
Mm.
kind of practice, and I was naturally pretty good at it, and I had like whatever. But that time kicked my ass. I didn't get into any of the schools I wanted to go to, and you
Mm.
know, it was a humbling experience. So I really went all in, and then around the time we met was a good like take a step back, be a human for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a chapter in my life that I look back on where the key word was just like happiness. Like, let's just like work towards that. Like, let's just be happy with what we're doing, enjoy this shit. Like, not get too anxious about all this. Like, I don't need to be the best in the world by the time I'm 24, which I thought I did. I thought that's what everybody had to do for a while.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and I remember even saying to my mom something like that, like, if I don't figure this out by the time I'm 25, I think I'm gonna quit. Like, something on those within that, and she's like, that's not how it works, dude. And now I'm in the work. I feel like my career started yesterday, if I'm being
You're
honest.
being dramatic, Ben. That's what she said.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, you're being very dramatic. I have a, yeah, I'm good at that. But it's always provided a good she's not like she grew up listening to country music. You know what I mean? So it's like a very different. But if I can cross that bridge, I know I did something pretty good. You know,
Mm.
but I don't. It's not something I'm begging for or looking for. In that, I'm not like desperate for that approval for her ear. Like I know some friends that do have a musician girlfriend can be, and that sure that's
Mm.
pretty complicated for them.
Mm.
And has like its own weight. That's really I don't know if I could deal with. I'm very sensitive to that kind of shit, so I just like don't. That sounds stressful to me, and I've tried that, you know. So I think I'm good on that, and you know, I'm
Yeah.
very happy with where I'm at. So, and we have a nice balance. Where we have both kind of a similar things that we enjoy, and you know, outside of music, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like need that to keep everything driving all the time, you know. And I kind of have enough of that like fire in me. Like I can take some time off and it's still gonna be there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been a nice like thing to keep me from being the most egotistical person in the entire planet, which I might be if I'm sure somebody listening to this is like, dude, you're already there, bro.
I
Whatever.
feel you. I think yeah, my girl's she's from Park Slope, Brooklyn.
Okay.
Um, and I feel I resonate with a lot of that. Like never seeking approval from her at all. When she does hear something, she'll be blunt honest and hurt my California boy feelings.
Yeah,
Sometimes, but
yeah,
you know, it's I think once we have our daughter into the equation, I think it is kind of a step back and like, okay, now the time management is a little different. I can't just
yeah,
lock myself in the studio for 12 hours and blah blah blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but now I did notice like a little bit of a shift where it's like when I do have the time to do it, I'm very focused. Like
Right.
I can get stuff done in 2 hours where it used to take a whole day, and I
Yeah,
would feel unfulfilled.
yeah.
Um, but I will say like you're saying that kind of humbling and that balance is a partner grounds you in that way, especially if they like if they have a certain like she listens to Ariana Grande
Mm-hmm.
and like country music as well,
Sure,
and so
sure.
she has like kind of a different taste, but loves Kendrick, like kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
loves everything, but has her own kind of go tos,
Right.
which I think is important.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all about like. I find that people assume that I'm in this musical bubble or that I have a very pointed opinion about certain things, which I feel like I may be used to.
Mm,
But I feel like there was a couple of artists in my early 20s that were like kind of made me get over that feeling. The one that sticks out is Drake, which I was definitely a little bit of a curmudgeon about Drake when he came out,
mm,
and I thought it was super whack. Um, and I realized that I was ruining it for all these girls in my life that I think are amazing people and dope. And who the fuck am I to ruin somebody's like to bring up all these like obscure stories and like whatever. Like I don't know, it's not really up to me. And I don't know. So that was like a good shift amongst many that were like a slow realization that like you're not it's not you don't make the rules of this, all right? Like
uh-huh, uh-huh.
you're playing you're a contributor. That's all you are. And if you're lucky, you can contribute half as much as these people are. So fucking chill out, bro.
Totally.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm with you. Drake. Speaking of Drake, man is consistent. The
Yeah.
man is consistent.
Yeah.
He's evolved. It's been crazy to see his evolution too.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, I completely agree with that mentality. Like, all we are is contributing.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, if you contribute half as much as Drake contributes, then
Yeah.
you're good.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
It's
mean, I did that, that amongst other things, and I feel
mm-hmm.
like I was, like I said, I went to jazz school, so that like puts you in this other sorts of bubble that's like even different than all the other shit we've been talking about. The kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and that scene is very like, very elitist and weird and has its own thing. And I'm glad that life took me a different direction, and that
Mm-hmm.
I kind of doing what I was doing when I was in high school, just like in a, just a more real way, which is what
Right.
I really wanted to be doing anyway. So like life just kind of took me in all these like weird other things where I was like a bass player for a while, and then I was this guy, and then I was this guy. But now I feel like I've come circle with myself, which took a lot of time for me, and I think for other people they can get there a lot faster. But this is just who I am. I'm an overthinker, and it takes me a while to decide this is what I wanted to do. But once I do, I'm ready to do it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said, it just took me till I was like 25, 26 to like be like, okay, I'm actually gonna fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
And
like, I think I'm gonna do it.
yeah, for those listening, 25, 26 is not that old. It's not that old as much as you think it's
Yeah.
old, and it's not. There's a long, long life ahead of you. But I
You
will
are
say,
a baby to everybody else if
yeah,
you're 25.
right.
Just realize that.
Yeah, someone said this really interesting thing. It was like, you become 1 years old, like 1 year old at 21.
Mm.
Like that's when the real age starts. So like,
Yeah.
yeah. So thinking of it that way is, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. Because I
That's
look
that's
at
the
a
way I view
21.
it too. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
first time, I was a truly, truly independent person. You do
Mm.
college and you're playing with Monopoly money and you feel like
Mm-hmm.
you're the shit. But then, like, that first real apartment or that first real spot comes through, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm a person now, and whatever. So yeah, 21, I agree. That's like, for me, that's when it really started.
First steps. Yeah.
First steps, and like,
Yeah.
all these like, that's when like that Mad Sat project, I was able to really dive into that, and like have a great first chapter of that as an adult, like making money doing music, and I'm always going to be grateful for that, because I feel like a lot of people give up before that or never get to the place where they're even making any money off original music, and like don't ever see where that could go or see the potential of that. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
I've been so like strong-headed about like doing my own thing is because I feel like I got a taste of that, and I'm like, dude, if I could do that with me and not 8 people, Jesus, you know, and like control the thing, and it could be just like me and like my brother driving and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
very, very insular stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
just I've been lucky to like have a couple little almost things that have like informed what's happening right now for sure, and it's definitely a lot easier now that I've fucked up a lot.
Totally. No, that's well said. Very well said. I'm really happy that you kind of can elaborate in this way, because I feel like I think a lot of people will understand this to some
Mm,
capacity, wherever they're at in
right.
their trajectory. Kind of, I know we're coming up here. I did want to kind of ask you. It's a music is a really vulnerable thing. Like,
Mm,
at the end of the day, especially, in my experience, like I wanted to hide behind DJing, producing, and then DJing, so I didn't have to sing or say
yeah.
any type of message. Um, I think these days it's hard to just have that idea, that thing that you want to do, and then just the hardest thing is just to do the first version of it, the first iteration.
Mm,
Do you have any kind of words of wisdom for people that are kind of looking at you? I know, especially like in this kind of new niche of these short form video. I want to
yeah.
speak to that in particular,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
think that's something that's like obtainable for a lot of people. Like, you can get your
Right.
phone, you can do this,
Right.
but just having the stones to do it, that
Yeah.
first leap. You have any advice for folks like wanting to dive into that?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a few things for sure that like come to mind. I mean, that was a very humbling experience for myself because I think like most people that are musicians, you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't think you were really good. So to get the feedback that you're not very good is something that you're gonna just have to fucking deal with. And it it will maybe slant your reality, but I think the more you can kind of do personal work and not like let that social media stuff have a real reflection of your life, the better you could be. The time I was posting a lot, like the most, is when I started like playing at this church that was very kind of self-helpy, like um, that really like actually changed my life playing there. Honestly, like I was into it. It's super dope music, very loose vibe, very open to like LGBT community, different than any like Christian church I'd ever played for sure. It's like a New Thought church, and for
Mm.
me that the timing of that was great because they were the idea of getting out of my own way was certainly brought to me by that. Um, and they were sending me a lot of nice cues that I needed to hear every Sunday when I would be playing there, which started as a gig, but something I liked to do and enjoyed, and great like vibrant crew in Bed-Stuy. It was amazing to just hang with and had a good vibe and weren't super on their phone. Not everybody had like 20,000 followers. Like everybody has like five, and but they're great and they're dope singers and like amazing and like it's just not about that shit.
Hmm.
And it's just like a very soulful experience. The more you can fill your life with stuff like that, that's really valuable. The more you'll actually be able to cut through, and people can just sense it later. Like it doesn't need to be this like all in one thing. And I think the more that you can build up those little like stones of experience and the like little morsels of like these shitty gigs that you play that like inform these real gigs that you play later because you just know that's not how you act here or whatever. You just like you just kind of learn from watching people fail that like this is just like I'm just not gonna do it like that. um I was lucky to watch a lot of people do stuff in a way that I disagreed with and was like, when I get my shot, I'm not going to do that. So now, like, I've had a lot of time to think about all that shit and, like, kind of like, be like, no, I've already kind of made up, like, I'm not going to be that dude that's talking to my phone all the time, be like, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I've only talked in Instagram probably like twice. You know what I mean? It's just like not a thing I really do. Up until recently, I didn't do it at all. And then I've kind of cracked. I've cracked a couple times now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Getting back to like advice for starting to post videos. Just yeah, it doesn't. Not everything needs to be amazing. You know, like it's like life. Like some of it's gonna be a little bit monotonous. Some of it's gonna be, but watch out for the moment that you know cuts through a little more than the others, and maybe see why. Like maybe investigate why and then there's probably a reason why. You know, whether you like it or not, you probably did something in that is more human to people. It's just like is an extension of you to people, and that was my experience at least, where like things I would unintentionally do or songs that I maybe wasn't as artful to me would really cut through, and I'd be like, oh, maybe there's something to that tempo, something to that thing. Now I kind of have like unofficially for me, I have like an Instagram tempo. Like there's like songs in a wheelhouse that I post on Instagram. Um, and then other joints I just find they don't really work, and so I don't post them on there because like I'm not gonna get that reaction. So I'm not gonna set myself up for that. So I will say also like it's a visual medium. So I find people thinking that you can just post your music and do nothing, and you can't. Is what I'll say to you. You can, but like it, just the algorithm won't allow that to grow in a real way. So the more you can do that has humans in it, or interacting, playing music in some way, or like has some sort of animation of you or something, the better it's gonna actually translate. But I think just if you play instruments and you can play them, you can film yourself playing them for like a beat video. That's always gonna come across really dope. And if you don't play instruments, come up with a really dope way you can edit your videos. That's gonna cut through and like get people to get past that first 5 seconds. And like people that you want to reach are often flooded by stuff. So like the more you can do in the visual medium is gonna help. And I will say that the ones I've edited the best did the best, whether they were good or not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Michael Bay, baby.
Michael Bay, more like Michael Moore, like on Michael fucking Moore. Crack.
Off a brownie.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to just say if people are kind of hearing you, kind of are becoming familiar, just the reason I wanted to bring that up is because it was really crazy. Like that song that we discussed earlier, which is coming out. You went from like 15,000, I think, or 12, 15,000, somewhere in there, to like over 100,000 followers, like pretty much within like a month. I feel like.
Yeah, it was like 100 in a month, somewhere around there.
Yeah, crazy.
Insane.
Yeah, and the amount, I'm telling you, like my algorithm changed because of that. Like that song was everywhere. Dun, dun, dun,
I've been joking with people. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have that song in my nightmares, bro.
Right.
Like hearing that song first thing in the morning is not what I want to do personally.
Right.
God bless anybody that wants to fucking work out to that shit and do that. But that's like my like late at night superhero song. I'm not even ready for that in my own feed personally. So sorry for anybody that I awoke from a slumber with that video.
You know what's cool though? All types of people like that. All types. Like you could tell there's some like OG probably like hip hop heads that are into it. There's people from like fashion. There's people like every walk of life. I think that's a real testament to the power of you and the Count's kind of music, like what you guys create, a piece of your soul. I think it's really, really exciting to watch, man, and I'm really honored to have had this conversation with you.
Oh man, likewise, man. Thank you for having me from the bottom of my heart. It was really, really nice to actually meet you and do this. For anybody that's listening, we've worked on some music and stuff, but actually haven't gotten a chance to interact like this. So it's a real pleasure for me. I'm also a huge fan. Everything this dude sends me is insane. And like,
thank you, man.
Very funky and easy to play bass on, and that's not always the case, believe me. So and you man, I will say, everything you send me genre wise is so dope, man. Like,
thank you.
Like I never see what's coming when you're gonna send me something, and I love that. I love that because I find that most people do have a wheelhouse that they don't really stretch from, or like it's only going to be for a very specific project. But I love that you're taking chances, man, and that's what I fuck with about you, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk, and get to know you a little bit. So
thanks, man. That truly means a lot, because a lot of respect for you. I feel like that's also, I feel the same way. I think that you kind of, everything you post, like that project with Yo was kind of blew my mind. It's like you're able to go in all these different directions, and I resonate a lot with what you're talking about throughout this whole conversation too, in terms of like your power, focusing on you, and kind of really like running with that, and I hope this gets across the same way for a lot of people.
I will say before we go, because focus on you, but I also feel like, which I haven't said, but is very important to me, is that you got to do shit for other people too, though. You really got to like do favors for people if you want people to do favors for you. Like you can't just be like do all that, but like don't be on some bullshit. Like you got to be a person and like help people that deserve to be helped and are hungry and love you. So like don't forget about those people. That's equally important. So just before we go, I felt like that's needed to be, because it's not all about me. It is to a
Totally,
certain extent, but like,
brother. That is like, thank you for making that clear too, because I cannot agree enough.
yeah,
That yeah, it's at the end of the day all about love, and if it is too one way, like this is my project, this is me, like this is my world. You're acting like the main character in this shit.
yeah,
It's not gonna
yeah.
fly. And it
Slippery
comes
slope.
across that way. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a balance. It's a healthy balance. It's
Right,
like it's a relationship too, just
right,
as we have our partners.
right.
It's like,
Yeah, producing people is its own form of a relationship. So, uh, you got to communicate accordingly,
mm-hmm.
and some things need to be watered more than others, but make sure that you're also being good to your people when you're being good to yourself. I would say, you know,
Amen.
Amen.
That's a great way to end this, man. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, brother.
Cartoons, ladies and gentlemen. One of the just keep your eye on this man here. I'm just gonna say that amazing tunes. Thank you, brother.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
man.
hopping on.